Welcome to Preparedness 101. We're going to be going over water filtration and food preservation today. I went to my local Walmart recently and noticed that there was a lot of empty shelves. So everyone needs to really understand the importance of these classes right now. The food uncertainty in the future is not looking good. So we just really have to prepare ourselves for the future that's headed our way. So these are just a few of some of the newest news updates. I don't have the mosaic phosphate fertilizer that was also damaged during the recent hurricane because that fertilizer company produces 50% of the phosphate throughout the United States and 12% of the phosphate to the whole world. So this is going to affect the fertilizer along with the Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipeline that was recently sabotaged. Russia's saying that the United States did it. So those pipelines produce natural gas. The natural gas produces the nitrogen that we need for fertilizer, ammonia, petroleum's also created, which they use for PVC pipes. So that's going to affect plumbing and many other things. Along here, we have August inflation jumped by 11.4%. Experts are warning that it's going to get a lot worse. The Inflation Reduction Act was passed that allows the government to money launder and just keep spending more money, which that's also going to affect the hyperinflation that's coming. The global harvest this season in the United States is down by 10 to 50%, and Europe is down by 50 to 80%. We should be seeing more of the harvest numbers coming in sometime soon within the next few weeks, and we'll be able to kind of narrow down some of those numbers for you. The cattle farmers are selling off 80% of the livestock. That's why the meat prices are currently as cheap as they are, but going into 2023, they're going to be a lot higher because the production is going to be a lot lower because everyone sold their cattle off because they couldn't feed them or they didn't have the fertilizer to be able to grow the crops to feed them with the drought and everything as well. Diesel engine oil is going to no longer be manufactured until 2023, shutting down all transportation, semi-trucks, trains, farming equipment. This is going to completely devastate the transportation industry. That's currently slowed down, but we're still going to end up seeing that slow down more in the months to come. The railroad strike is still pending. Visa, MasterCard is starting to categorize guns and ammo, possibly even gold and silver on your bank statements, and they could be blocking these purchases. You can use privacy.com. What that does is you link it up to a credit card. When you make those purchases through this website, it will not show up on your bank statement that you purchased guns and ammo. I personally have not done it just yet, but that is the current workaround from what I'm hearing. Over 100 food manufacturers' factories have been destroyed since 2021. Europe being forced to shut down the steel plants, nitrogen, carbon, ammonia, aluminum production, destroying the fertilizer production, and the imports the U.S. is receiving from them. Again, the Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipeline is being shut down. This is also going to affect BASF, BASF. They produce petroleum and the ammonia and everything for the fertilizer. That also affects their steel plants. So everything is going to end up shutting down if this BASF ends up going out of business because of their lack of natural gas. The World Food Program and Agriculture Organization of the UN are reporting Afghanistan. I'm cut off with my picture. Sudan, Somalia, Nigeria, that they're reporting that there's going to be a catastrophic famine that's coming. So the ideal is to destroy the third world countries, and they end up infiltrating the first world countries, and that's what's going to devastate the United States and Europe because we're the first world countries. Europe energy has increased by 700 to 1,000%, leaving many left to freeze to death this winter. Also, I wanted to mention Executive Order 14067 was signed to discontinue cash and bring on CBDCs. This is the mark of the beast, guys. They're going to end up shutting down the US currency and put everyone, including India, which they just recently shut down their banks, and they're rolling out their central bank digital currencies to put everyone on a digital currency. what this is going to do is it's going to give everyone, it's going to give them the authority to be able to control our money supply. So even if they say, oh, well, you went over on your carbon credits and you can only drive 5 miles outside of the outside of where you live, then they'll be able to just shut down your bank account. And that's in Revelations 13:16, where it forces all people, great and small, rich or poor, free and enslaved, to receive the mark of the beast on their right hand or their foreheads, so that they could buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the same of the mark of the beast or the number of its name. Which this, I'll get to the presentation real quick, but I'm just venting. This really drives me crazy, the fact that a lot of preachers are not talking about this. We have the blueprint for the mark of the beast, and these preachers are not talking about it. And I really don't understand why. I believe that they're cowards, and it's highly important that everyone should be talking about these central bank digital currencies, and everyone's going to end up losing their currency. So, and also it talks about the whole New World Order Great Reset. In Revelations 17:13, they will all agree to give power and authority over to the beast. So let me get to this presentation. And also, preparing is scriptural. I hope my little, oh, hang on, it froze. Preparing is scriptural. I hope that this actually didn't mess up, but I'm going to keep going. It is scriptural. Joseph, in Genesis 41, Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream for the 7 years of prosperity and 7 years of famine. Genesis 41:35, have them gather all the food and produce, in the good years ahead, so that, and store them in the storehouse for the 7 years of famine that's coming. Proverbs 21:20, the wise store up choice foods and olive oil, but the fools gulp them down. 1 Timothy 5:8, anyone who does not provide for their families and relatives, especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Proverbs 22:3, the prudent person foresees danger and takes precaution, and the simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. This is something that I really encourage on and try to push people to understand, is that God is the one that has given us with the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And so if you hear that voice in your head saying, alert, 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 wake up, pay attention, that is God. God is telling us to pay attention to make sure we're taking precaution ahead of time. Ezekiel 4:9, now go and gather up some food, wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, emmer, wheat, and mix them all together and store them in a jar. Eat them for 390 days and ration them out for 8 ounces per day. What I really liked about this scripture was just that these are self-sustaining. These grains are self-sustaining. So preparedness is scriptural. So let's get into food and water preparedness. Food preservation. Pressure canning, pickling, dehydrate, freeze-dried Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers or hand warmers and store them in a food-grade bucket or cobalt buckets with a rubber seal. Meat can also be smoked or salted. Now, you can use these, the ones that they already pre-package. You can order them already dehydrated. These are still really good as a food option, but they get really pricey. So if you find one that says that they're good for 90 days, or they can give you an amount of 90 days, that's only for one person. So if you have a family of 4, you're going to run out in what, a month? So although these are a great backup, which obviously I have some, but you can do it a lot cheaper. You can go to Sam's or Costco and buy the really big bags of rice and be able to just store up mini buckets for what, 30, 40 bucks if you go now before they run out. These are the Mylar bags. So you can use these Mylar bags to be able to store up pretty much just about anything. I have a list on the next page. I think it's the next page, where it shows like the expiration dates. When they're in these bags, number one, you're protecting them from pests and mice and oxygen and all that, so they last a lot longer. But what I do here is I will also cut out the recipe. It's not on this one because it's rice, and I know how to make rice, but I normally will cut out the instructions and put them on the Malar bags and seal them up. I will also label the non-GMO organic products because I will save those for us, and anything that's not organic, I will be willing to share with whoever God leads me to share with. So that way I can still be able to help serve God's people and help them, but while also preserving my own nutrition as well, because I believe that that's important. So these ones, these are the oxygen absorbers. I have not used the hand warmers because that is something I recently learned about. So I'm going to be heading out and going and getting some extra hand warmers. These are the oxygen absorbers. You can just put, depending on the size, but you can put like 2 in there with a good 5-gallon bucket and be able to store them for, depending on what the product is. This is a 1-gallon Malar bag, and you can cut them in halves. So let's just say you have like a bag of beans and that's all you have and you want to preserve them. You can go ahead and just cut half of it, take a flat iron and just seal right across it, and you'll be able to seal it and be able to use the other half as well. They also sell these in the 5-gallon. So I will take like the 5-gallon, I will stick them still in a food grade bucket, put the big oxygen absorbers in there, and I can just put like a whole bag of rice. I can put like the cornmeal. I'll use like the cornmeal or even wheat berries. I'll put those in there as well. Let's see, what else do I got on here? The canning, I have some pickles over there, but I forgot to bring them over close to me. So you can do canning. Let's see. Oh, the cobalt buckets, which if you see, I don't know if you can see behind me, I have some cobalt buckets. What I like about those is they have a rubber seal on them. And if I don't get around to putting my stuff in the Malar bags ahead of time and I just start throwing stuff in there, it'll keep the bugs out. That's what's really important, because if you use a regular bucket, those are fine to have, but I would encourage you to use those for like canned goods or something that is extremely sealed that you don't have to worry about those little tiny black bugs. So use the cobalt buckets to be able to store the rice, the split peas. I don't know why those bugs get into split peas, but they get into split peas. They get into barley, any type of grain they will get into. So those cobalt buckets are great for that, especially like if it's last minute, you just want to start throwing stuff into there. Right now in today's times, I will tell you, I wouldn't stress too much about the Malar bags. Just get food, okay? Go get food, make sure you got a lot of it, and if you are able to have an abundance of it, you'll be able to be a blessing to other people that don't have. So just get food. So the food to store would be rice, beans, lentils, canned food, veggies, and fruit, soups, grains like wheat berries to make flour, quinoa, barley, oats, powdered milk, canned meat, sardines. I say that because they have omega-3s. I figure I don't like eating sardines, but at least I'll be able to cook them, and they're really good with omega-3s, and I'll just like mix them with some rice. If I'm starving, I'll eat it. So miso soup, those are good for flus. That's something that the Japanese like to use for flus or when you're sick. Apple cider vinegar, those have many usage. Sprouts, they are very high in nutrients and they grow in a small amount of days. 3 to 5 days, you'll have some nice nutrient-dense sprouts. They're basically like multivitamins. Pasta, salt, sugar, peanut butter, coconut oil, honey, spices. Honey doesn't even expire, so you can load up on honey and maple syrup and stuff like that. Spices, pasta sauce, coffee, gotta have coffee, powdered protein shakes, and green superfoods. So let's just say you haven't had any electricity, you haven't been able to cook anything, maybe, I don't know, worst case, like maybe your neighborhood surrounded by the enemy or something, and you don't want to like start a flame or a fire, you'll be able to have those protein shakes, just shake it up with some water and be able to drink them and still keep yourself hydrated. You'll still be able to keep yourself strong to be able to fight, because that's ultimately what we're going to be doing. We're going to be fighting. So the more nutrients in your food, the better. Eating canned food for weeks at a time or relying on food ration bars, the MREs, will really deplete your immune system, deplete your body of nutrients, cause constipation and sickness. Anytime you're constipated, you go days or weeks without being able to go to the bathroom. That is highly toxic for your body, and it will make you sick. So those MREs, they really lack a lot of nutrition. I met a guy one time and he's like, oh, I got like 25 pallets of MREs. You're probably going to be constipated for like 5 years. So, I mean, I think it's a good idea to have on hand, yes. But to think that that's all you're going to be able to eat for 10 years, no. So it's going to be very important to stay healthy as possible. White rice lasts longer, has a longer shelf life than brown rice. However, brown rice has more nutrients than white rice. I like to store both. Also, lentils and white jasmine rice are the most water and energy efficient. Lentils cook very fast compared to, let's just say, kidney beans, pinto beans. You have to soak those. You have to soak them overnight. Maybe you got to heat them up for an hour and still let them sit. They still use a lot of water, and they take a long time to cook. Lentils are not like that. All you have to do is just cook them for probably 25 minutes, roughly. Maybe you want to throw some other stuff in there, carrots, onions, I don't know, anything that you got. Anyway, lentils are great to have. Organic, if preferably. I recently learned that some of them are sprayed with glyphosate, but I still have a lot of them, and I figured, well, it's better than not being able to eat it all. And again, as of right now, just don't seek perfection when it comes to storing food. Just get food. I had a lady call me, said that, oh, I forgot to get the jasmine rice. I just got regular rice. That's okay. That's okay. Just get rice. Okay. Jasmine rice, it just cooks a lot faster and it uses less water. So that's pretty much what you're looking for. How to cook? You can use propane. Actually, see where my picture is. If you look right above it, I have a little picture right there, and it shows the 4 bricks where you can put like wood inside of it and be able to kind of create your own stove. It's like a little do-it-yourself stove. So you got propane, charcoal, do-it-yourself, 4-brick grill, fire pit, and a wood stove. What I did recently, I went to Tractor Supply and they had one of those above ground fire pits, and it had a grill already on top for probably like $200. And it was like self-assembled and it's already ready. So I thought that was great. So I just went ahead and got it. You can just throw charcoal in there, you can throw wood in there, and you'll be able to still cook over it, and that'll be awesome. The easiest animals to raise, that would be the chickens, rabbits, quail, and fish. You can get 6 chickens and they can produce up to 1,500 eggs per year. I have 8 hens and they give me roughly about 6 eggs a day, depending on the season. So they're really good to have. You can also use them for fertilizer. They'll eat the bugs. They'll eat the spiders. They'll eat little snakes. They'll eat all types of stuff. Let your chickens free range, and they will just be able to kind of keep the bugs away from your house, away from your camp area, your tent, whatever it is. That way they'll be able to keep everything kind of clean. The vegetables, the ones with the highest yield, I do have sweet potatoes, beets, corn. Hang on, part of that is cut off with my picture again. Sweet potatoes, beets, corn, beans, greens, eggplant, peppers, and squash. You can use white potatoes. That's okay. It's just sweet potatoes have more nutrients, and they just have a better nutrition for them. So those are the easiest ones that you can grow with the highest yield. And make sure you're learning how to can. I am preaching to the choir. I am learning how to can. I am a city girl. And I know a lot about like the Malar bags and vacuum and sealing. I forgot to add that on there. You can also vacuum seal. Vacuum sealing, I know a lot of being able to do ways that way, but I'm learning to grow and I'm learning to can. And when it comes to prepping, it's all about learning new skills, every day. We all have to continue to learn, have more skills to be able to preserve and grow and raise animals and produce our own food. Eventually, it's going to come to a time where we cannot depend on the grocery stores. Again, I seen a post this morning at my local Walmart in Douglas, Georgia, and in Hazelhurst that the shelves are running empty. Okay, you talk to these farmers, you listen to the farmers on YouTube or wherever you hear them from, and a lot of them, number one, the fertilizer has increased by 300 to 400%. And then some of them are actually decreasing their production by 50%. What is that going to do? If these farmers are decreasing their production by 50%, it's going to cause shortages. And we have to take the responsibility ourselves to be able to feed our family and get back to the roots that we came from, that were how God created us to be able to preserve our own food. Stop depending on the grocery stores. And like I said, I am preaching to the choir. So we have to continue to make progress in being able to produce our own food, save our own food, so that way we can also barter and sell and trade with each other. You do not want to be walking to the FEMA camps. You don't want to depend on them. Don't depend on FEMA to save you, please. You're going to be eating bug protein and soy protein, which depletes your immune system. So you have, hang on a second, I'm waiting for the timer. There it goes. I have a lag. There we go. Okay, so it looks like it's back up. So fertilizer, you can create your own fertilizer. So you can take the animal manure. It produces the best fertilizer, very high in nitrogen. You can produce by kitchen composting in your yard clippings. Urine, you can mix on a 10-to-1 ratio. So I'm just going to say you have 10 ounces of water versus 1 ounce of urine. You can mix that and be able to sprinkle it on your plants or spray it on your plants. I don't recommend peeing on your plants. You will burn them. It's too strong for your plants. You can't do it like that. Liquid fertilizer can be created by putting yard clippings in a large bucket and letting the water sit for a few days. You can take one of these big blue buckets, something like this, or like a barrel, and you'll be able to put yard clippings in there. I wouldn't recommend weeds. You don't want weeds growing in your garden. So I would recommend putting something like that in there and letting them sit for a few weeks and then be able to kind of scoop it out in a way and be able to put it on your garden, because that creates a natural fertilizer. But again, animals go hand in hand with gardening, and that would produce the best fertilizer for you. So water filtration, first you have to purify and then you have to disinfect, okay? So you have to clean it out, get all the big particles out, and then you'll be able to sterilize it and disinfect it because of the parasites and the bacteria that grows in water. You want to be able to clean that out. So filter with a do-it-yourself sand and charcoal method or a white cloth. What I would recommend getting is, if you have like a 5-gallon bucket, you could take a cloth to put it on the bottom, make sure you poke some holes in it, put some sand in it, get some charcoal. So let's say you have some wood charcoal from your fire pit, break it up real good with a hammer, kind of make it dusty, put it on top, and then filter your water through. Now that is not disinfecting it, that is purifying it. You're cleaning it, you're getting out all the big particles, okay? So that's one way of being able to do it yourself. Disinfectant would be boiling for at least 1 minute. You can also use sunlight. So if you were to use sunlight, you can put it into like a plastic or a glass jar, let it sit in the sun for a few hours, and that'll help disinfect it. Sodium hydrochloride, which is bleach, depending on the concentration, if you have a concentration of 5 to 6%, you need 8 drops per gallon or a half a teaspoon for 5 gallons. If you have an 8% concentration, you just need 6 drops per gallon. I also have these potable aqua drops or tablets. Let me see if I can show you. Currently, you can get these off of Amazon. I'm sure there's some other places that you can get them from. I hate buying from Amazon. I feel like I'm contributing to my own enslavement. But you can also use these, and it says 2 tablets per quart or liter. You can use iodine tincture. You can get those from Walgreens. and you'll just put 5 drops per quart. That disinfects. Okay, so you'll be able to drink the water after you put those in there because it disinfects it and sterilizes it. If the water's cloudy, double the dose. You don't want any contaminated water. People get highly sick when they consume contaminated water. Oh, and I have these. Being able to have different types of water storage. This is like a camp shower. You can take the little nozzle and open it, and it has a hose to it, and you'll be able to take showers. Because if you read underneath it, different things that you'll be able to, how you're going to be able to gather your water and what you're going to be able to use them for. I'll get back to that in just a second. I have a Berkey. So this is what I like to use to be able to filter my water. So let's say I purify my water first, then I'm going to go ahead and stick it in my Berkey because it disinfects it for me. It takes out 99.9% of all contaminants. These white filters here are for fluoride. So if you are using public water, I highly encourage you to take out the fluoride out of your water. It decreases your IQ level, causes dental fluorosis, causes some other issues as far as like diseases and things like that it contributes to. It calcifies your pineal gland. And that is also something that Hitler used during the Holocaust to cause people to be more docile. We can see that in today's time that people are more docile, they're less likely to want to fight back. And that's why a lot of people are just giving up their freedoms because they're been basically contaminated with fluoride. All right, so then they have these filters in the bottom, and those filters is what filters out and disinfects. These filters last a long time. If I fill this up once a day, it would last me about 6 years. Now the fluoride filters you have to replace every like 6 months, 9 months, something like that. So you would have to replace those more, but the Berkey black filters last a long time. And right now they're a little pricey because of the price of everything going up, but for as long as they last, I think it's worth it. This little jar here, I wouldn't store water in this thing, but when my pipe on my house had broken, I didn't have water for about 2 days. This thing came in handy. This is called a water storage cube. So this thing, it was really handy because I was able to fill it up with some of the water I already had stored and stick it on the edge of my sink, and I could wash my hands, I could brush my teeth. You don't realize how much you wash your hands until you don't have water. At least that should be a problem. Hopefully you wash your hands a lot. So I put this on the edge of my sink. I could wash my hands. I even did my dishes with it, which sucked, but I still did it. You know, I was able to still clean. So going without water, going without electricity is not going to be convenient, and it's not going to be fun. But as long as you have the resources, it will lighten the burden of making things a little easier for you compared to not having anything at all. Because if you're not washing your hands, then you can get a lot more sick if you're not washing your hands, and it spreads disease. So ways of being able to collect water. You can collect water through the rainwater. It's a good option. These, I hate pronouncing this word, polyethylene plastic barrels. That's the little blue barrel that you see on the right side. Those are the best to store water in because they're really thick plastic. It prevents the contaminants from the plastic from getting into your water, and you can store them the best. Walmart also has these really big blue, I want to say they're probably 5 gallons, like they're these big blue plastic bottles that you can store water in as well, and they're about $10. So if you go and you buy them, fill it up at your house and be able to just store them and put them away. I would put a few drops. I don't know if I would use bleach because I had a lady said that she used the cheap ones, the cheap water jugs, and she put some bleach in there and it busted. So that could be because maybe it was in a hot area, maybe it was by a window. You want to be able to keep your stored water away from windows and keep it in a darker place where it's cooler, so that way it keeps the bacteria down. So store your water in a dark, cooler place if possible. But anyway, these barrels are really good to be able to store, and they come in different sizes. A shallow well, right here on the left-hand side, that's my shallow well. Thankfully, my husband actually built it for me. I just decorated it with the bricks. But you can dig a shallow well. I forgot the name of the device that he used, but he just manually dug it. Took him a while because, you know, in between working on being able to get it done. But it took him a while. But anyway, it got done, and so I'm very grateful to have a shallow well. You can filter water from ponds and streams. Remember that you're going to need water for drinking, flushing toilets, feeding animals, watering your garden, shower, hand washing, and cooking with. So they're estimated that you should have about 10 gallons per day per person if you're going to be doing all of this. So if you're going to be flushing toilets, if you're going to be cooking with it and all that stuff, you're going to be needing a lot of water. So make sure you have a good water source. You can also hook up like a gravity filter, put it on an elevated, I don't know if you would want to put it on bricks or some sort of elevated hill or something like that, and be able to filter down pipes. And that you could hook that up to your house and be able to get like a slow stream of gravity of water through your house if you had hooked it up that way. Or you could hook it up to maybe a way to be able to water your garden or something like that. But gravity fed with the slower pressure, although it would be slow, it still would work. So you could try something like that. And again, washing the hands regularly is going to be important to be able to prevent, keep down sickness and disease. Okay, I have a lag in between switching clips. Vitamins. Make sure you're getting high quality vitamins, because if we are going through hard times, or if we are off grid, or we're trying to fight sickness and disease, or even some sort of bioweapon that they drop on us, we're going to be able to need to keep our immune system strong. So, and plus we're going to need to have energy in case we're sleep deprived. We're not sleeping. We're not sleeping in AC, so it's going to be very hard to sleep. Make sure you have vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, multivitamins, nascent iodine. This also helps with nuclear radiation. This is going to be very helpful and required to have in case there's a nuclear fallout. With the whole stuff with Russia that's going on, and a possibility of a nuclear attack, having nascent iodine is going to be able to help protect the thyroid gland and prevent it from sticking to your thyroid gland and poisoning your body. So nascent iodine is also good for multiple things, on being able to help with brain function, detoxing. It helps with libido. It helps with a lot of different things. So just having that is going to be important. This is the multivitamin mineral fusion powder that I absolutely love this stuff. I get it from InfoWars, and I try to stock up on it whenever it comes in because it runs out pretty fast. But it gives me energy, and I really love it. And then I have some basic vitamin C. Oh, I forgot to finish reading. Selenium, that helps when you're sick, and it helps with whole body function and cell function. Colloidal silver, that's really good for when you're sick. And then turmeric for pain and inflammation. This is the turmeric that I use. It's called Body Ease. That's also from InfoWars. Some of the best turmeric that you can possibly get. And that helps with pain. We don't take any type of over-the-counter medication, pain medication for headaches or anything. We use turmeric, and it works. And it's all natural stuff. This is the Z-Detox from Dr. Zelenko. Dr. Zelenko healed a lot of people from COVID with this because it has a high amount of NAC, zinc, EGCG, which is a green tea extract, and then vitamin D3 and vitamin C. You can get that off of his website and be able to just take that regularly and keep yourself healthy. And zinc, I have zinc. These are some of the ones underneath of where I get my vitamins from InfoWars, Global Healing, Ancient Medicine. the Health Ranger store, Dr. Judy Mikovich, which she's the one that used to work with Fauci and was whistleblowing on him, and Dr. Zelenko. Now, backup communication, excuse me, backup communication, real quick before I say that. These are some fish vitamins. They're not vitamins. They're like a medicine, and I would just recommend getting some sort of like fish medicine. This is amoxicillin. Excuse me, one sec. This is amoxicillin, and this is cephalaxin. It's by Aquacef, and these are fish vitamins. They actually give these to fish when they're sick and stuff like that, but this is the same stuff that they give to humans and dogs for allergies and everything, and you can get them a lot cheaper, and you don't need a prescription. I will tell you, I'm having problems getting more of these. They're running low. A lot of people are buying them, so that's just a pointer for like keeping down infections and things like that. Backup communication, I would recommend having a satellite phone or a bivy stick. They are currently, or was using them when the hurricane hit Florida recently with Hurricane Ian. Whenever the cell phone towers went down, they were giving them to the first responders and allowing them to be able to communicate with each other. They were letting the citizens use them to be able to call their family members and just tell them that they were okay when the cell phone towers were down. So I highly recommend these because we need to have some sort of backup communication. The bivy stick, I was pretty interested in this one when I learned about it because it kind of works as like a broadband hotspot where you can just send text messages back and forth to each other, and you can connect it to your cell phone, which, like I said, it works as kind of like a hotspot broadband to the satellite, and you can use it for like maps, where you'll be able to look up maps and stuff on it. So I thought that was pretty cool. So Satellite Phone Store is the website, and then you can also look up SAT123, and you can check the different plans. Now the plans did go up from when I was checking into it, but that it's still a good backup plan. This is the shelf life of all of the food expirations that I came up with. It's a shelf life of foods, and it gives the expiration life, shelf life after expiration. And you can just go through these, and it shows that like canned foods are good for 2 to 3 years after expiration, so you don't have to throw them right away when they expire. Spaghetti is good for 18 months after expiration. Dry pasta, you can kind of go through these. I'm not going to go through every single one. The eggs, I will mention that if you take unwashed eggs and you mix it with some lime, those can actually last you 2 years. So I currently just ordered a bunch of jars to be able to start doing that myself. And because if you have eggs just left in the refrigerator, if the power goes out and you can't power that refrigerator, those eggs are going to go bad. And eggs are only good in the refrigerator for 3 months anyway. So you can go through this list and take a picture of it, something like that. And these are my eggs that I raised, so I was pretty excited because they're all colorful and pretty. These are some tips on how to prepare your children for hard times. Okay, a lot of our kids are a little spoiled. They like electronics. They like to be inside. They like to not do all the things that we didn't do when we were kids. So these are just a few things that you can use. Let me find my books. So I like to use the Tuttle Twin books. Okay. The Tuttle Twin books, it talks about inflation, the laws that the government makes that doesn't benefit citizens. It talks about fiat currency, cryptocurrency, how the currency was created, and they took it off the gold standard and it lost its value, and they can just keep printing and printing and cause hyperinflation. It talks about the courageous heroes that fought against communism and entrepreneurship and capitalism. There's a specific book. Hang on. There's a specific book I was looking for. I think it's this one. This is The Creature on Jekyll Island. And it talks about the different events that they basically cause, and it allows them to take power. So even during the 9/11, when that whole thing happened, what that did is it allowed them to roll out with the Patriot Act and allowed them to use universal surveillance. Anyway, I can't find it. It's in here somewhere. I don't know if it's this one. Maybe it's not. No, Jekyll Island is actually about the feds. I think it was talking about the Federal Reserve, and it talks about where it was created and all that stuff, and that it was basically created with central banks and has nothing to do with government. So those books are really good, and that's what I teach my daughter with, and they're wonderful. I have learned a lot myself just by doing those. Studying the Great Depression and how they survived, how they had become really frugal. They ended up having to save a lot to be able to make ends meet to be able to survive. Have them help in the garden and raising animals. This promotes physical work and life skills. Going camping, enjoying nature, being in a non-AC climate. And kind of gets them used to just not constantly being in a house all the time with the climate controlled. Reducing time on electronics, reducing their dependency on entertainment. You know how when we were kids, we actually used to go outside and play and find ways to entertain ourselves. That's what we have to be able to get them back to getting used to on being able to entertain themselves more. Cooking with a parent, these are life skills. Nature hikes, same thing, and reading Psalms with them. This helps really building their faith during hard times. This is something that me and my daughter like to read, and I will explain to her during times when we are struggling, we really have to build our faith during that time and really be able to seek God and to know where in Scripture to be able to find that Scripture and how important that is for our kids. And lastly, turn to Jesus. With the times that we are headed in, we are really going to have to be building our faith and trusting in God and relying on Him for His discernment and guidance, and just really building our faith and trusting that the Lord has a plan for us. So, sorry, I have like phlegm this morning, allergies. So, Psalms 31:24, be strong and courageous, all you who put hope in the Lord. Joshua 1:9, this is my command, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you. Hebrews 9:28, so Christ was sacrificed once to take away the sins of many, and he will appear a second time, not to bear sin, but to bring salvation to those who are waiting for him. And lastly, 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and heal their land. That is what we all have to do. We have got to turn from our sin so God can heal our land. We are able to turn this around, but only with the Lord's help. If you are prepping without God's help and without God's guidance, you still will fail. You still will die. And unfortunately, your soul will not be saved. So that is something that we all have to do, is we have to all turn from our sin and ask God for guidance. And with that, I forgot to also mention, was something that I added, was being able to build community, getting off of the system and being able to build community. So getting back to the grassroots, the way God created us, to grow our own food, raise animals, be physically active, love each other. Love can conquer everything. So we got to love each other. And I'm not saying someone that's shooting at you. I'm talking about your neighbor. Love your neighbors. Educate your own children and put God first in our life, which is the first commandment. Homeschooling. My town has a great homeschool community. So being able to homeschool, get them off of this indoctrination system that they're on. That's basically brainwashing them and making them confused about their genders. So getting them off of that, get to know your neighbors so we can barter and sell and trade with them. We have got to get used to not everything being convenient. Get back to actually being able to do physical work. Grow anywhere and everywhere, including if you're in an apartment, you can grow in buckets on your back porch or develop a community garden. Invest in gold and silver. The currency is failing. Okay, the currency is failing. If you have not bought gold and silver, your assets will not be protected and you will lose everything. The banks are going to be bailed in, which means anything that you have in the bank, they are going to keep. That is what a bail-in is, and that law was actually passed during the 08 crash. Have backup energy, solar panels, propane, gas, diesel, rechargeable batteries. They're actually creating something called a low fusion energy. Citizens are actually creating those where we don't have to depend on the electric companies, but that is still in progress, okay? So people are coming up with innovative, creative ideas. God created us all to be highly intelligent, just the way He has made us. We are made in God's image. We can overcome this and overcome whatever they are doing. So just know and have faith and trust that the Lord has made us equipped with everything that we need. And yeah, make sure that we need each other. Just so you know, we do need each other and we need each other's help. So get to know your neighbors, start loving each other, and really seeking God for all of His guidance. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope it was helpful, and I hope that you will share the video, and God bless. And we are going to get through this. We are going to rise from the ashes when the system fails. God bless.